All right, folks, welcome back to Sales Life from Kentucky. Justin Ryder, my California.
buddy.
California. He just got off the 405 and it dumped him out
Yes.
onto Mahalad, where he belongs. It's Sean Ward. Sean, mind of an
buddy.
entrepreneur, body of an athlete, soul of an artist.
You-
That's you, dude.
That's you. That's a good way to describe yourself, man. That's amazing.
No way, man. I'm just
That's
describing
amazing.
you, my co-host on this wonderful show. So, how shall we improve the sales life through friendship today?
Oh man, last week's episode. I say week, even though it was 5 minutes ago for you and me.
Right.
But
In real time.
You were in real time. You were talking about boldness and do I build and being a real estate entrepreneur? Do I build? Do I scale? Do I create a machine? And I'm curious, why do you want to do that? Is that what you want to do? Where do you think
You're
want to
asking
go
me
with
what I
that?
want?
Yeah. What do you want?
That's a great question.
Open up, man.
I know I'm
do you want?
supposed to want those things because of the industry I'm in.
Oh, here we go.
Do I want to be yes, I do want to be successful. I do want it to create financial freedom so that there's time and space to do meaningful stuff. Do meaningful stuff with family, with friends, do more meaningful work. Look, if we're honest, the reward for meaningful work is more meaningful work.
Do you know my good buddy Matt Stone? He works in your office.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. So one of the best things about Matt, you might not know this, but he's always available. Did you know that?
I did. I did know that.
You told me that. So, okay, let me ask you, is that I presume if he's always available, he's created a life in a way where he hasn't buried himself to be a slave to a pipeline or something, right? Or is he just the type of how is he always available? Does he have systems in place? Does he have people around him? Or does he intentionally leave? Because here's where I want to go with this. I think it's important to talk about reverse engineering the life you want. And I think it's important to think deeply about the life you want. And I think we're all programmed to grow and scale, and that is pushed upon us as the path. And I think that's great if that's what you want. But I think some people get sucked into that and it's a trap, and then go there just to find out man, I don't even know if I wanted this. I just kind of went with the flow. So I'm curious, did Matt intentionally design his life to be open and spacious and available for people?
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, realistically, he's not always available, right? But it feels that way. It's not like you wouldn't text him and he says, yeah, I can meet right now at the drop. But no, I'm at my kid's game or whatever. But I think the Matt Stone effect on my life, which I've talked to you a little bit about before, was more I'm available to God first. So it's a life of saying again, faith-driven person, right? So if you don't have that background, that's okay. But his perspective is, God, I'm available. What will come into my path today? Oh, it's somebody who's super annoying. That's okay, because I already said, God, I'm available. And so this is not the ideal situation, or maybe there's a little hair on this situation or whatever, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. That's okay. I've already said I'm available for what you have. And so I think that's a little bit more of that mentality. That's a successful life, right?
100%.
I mean, I know this about us. I'm getting ready to ask you the same question, by the way. So get ready. What is the life you want? It's a very good question. I can cover our basis here as we start out. if you go back to a month ago or so, our episode on kids, I know for a fact that I want some of my deathbed thoughts to be wonderful memories that I had with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I just do.
Yeah.
I feel that at the end of my life, I will remember and please God, get me there. Obviously anything can happen. You're not guaranteed tomorrow, but like I want to remember forever the toast I give at my daughter's
Mm-hmm.
weddings, right? I want that to
Yeah.
be a really special memory.
Yeah.
And I have 3 daughters, so I'm setting aside
Yeah.
Bitcoin as we speak
That's good. You better.
on weddings. And if crypto crashes for some reason, then I hope they do a barefoot wedding in a
Yeah.
garden.
Backyard. Let's go.
I'm just joking. Your backyard, actually, Sean.
Sure. We have had weddings here.
Your house will
Yes.
be done by then.
I don't know. Maybe not. How old are
So-
they? Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So I'm going to keep I don't want to end my answer here because I do have other thoughts, but like, how do you reverse engineer the life you want? Like, how do you set yourself up what do you want? I'll just ask that. Like, what do you want out
Yeah.
of life?
I'll tell you the journey I have been on for 5 or 6 years. I built a pipeline at work that kept me very busy and kept me busier than I wanted to be. And this is going back 10 years or so. No, I shouldn't say that. I wanted to be busy like that, but I think ultimately I just wanted to, you just want as many deals as possible, right? I mean, that's what success to be. Okay, I got so many deals. Oh my God, I got all these deals. It's great, and it is great. But when you take a step back and realize, like, well, why do you want so many deals? For me, it was always about like having enough money, and then that was always like 2 steps from so I could be secure, and then so I could be free. And we've talked about this before, like it's the freedom piece, and you just said it, like financial freedom. And so I was thinking about that, and you get. I got pulled into thinking like, okay, to do that, then I can't just be a hamster on a wheel working all the time. I got to create passive income. I fell into 6 years ago, as of right now, I'm going to say the passive income trap.
Okay.
The passive income
Yes.
trap. And I started buying some multifamily property, and it's all good. Don't get me wrong, but none of it has been passive. It's been a giant time suck, right? So, as they say, you're either winning or learning. I've learned a lot in this process. So, yeah, like for me, it was like I never took the last step. I heard somebody say recently they wanted to get to X number of dollars a month in passive income. I think it was like $30,000 a month or something like that.
Yeah, that's Nick. That's my boy Nick Huber.
Cuber. Yeah. In the video. Yeah. Duh. You did the video. Yeah. Nick wanted to get to 20 grand, and then he adjusted for inflation. Now he says 30 grand a month. Okay. Which I
Right.
totally get. My number was higher than that, actually. And that was kind of where I was going with things. But I don't think I ever really took the step. I didn't go far enough to the end when I started reverse engineering that. I just didn't get to the end of that process. And if I did, I would have asked myself, why do I want $30,000 a month? And I honestly think that's the missing ingredient for most people who start this journey of chasing or building something, chasing passive income, investing. I'm just here to say, is all of that 30 grand a month is not the end. We think it's a means to an end. It's like,
Sure.
I think if we step back and said, well, why do you want 30 grand a month?
Yeah, I
Right?
guess
I mean,
because the answer is like, okay, so I could do what I want. It's like, why don't you just
Yeah,
do that?
so I could be
Do that anyway, right?
right. But
Like, is that what you're saying?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, I did it because I wanted to be secure and free. But hell, man, like, I don't know, read the Bible. Like, I'm talking to myself. It's like, it's full of stories and warnings about, okay, you think you're building security for yourself. Well, good luck. Life will throw things at you.
Yeah.
And so for me, my journey started 5 or 6 years ago of doing that, setting up for myself a great life that was very secure and free, filled with passive income. And it turned out to be the biggest freaking train wreck ever. And then I was like, man, I just remember what it was like when I didn't have any of this stuff. I felt so great.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's the big trap. It's the big trap of our
Sure.
society. It's just the way of the world, man. I wrote a post about it today. It's the way of the world.
Well, and if you can control like this, one of my hardest parts of this journey of desire, of
Mm-hmm.
want,
Mm-hmm.
and of reaching, of getting up every day to tackle this, like one of my big picture items has been, can you turn that on and off? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's true meaning in being hungry in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that purpose, that I think that is right and good, and you could kind of
Correct.
say on the hunt. Like when I'm doing commercial real estate and I'm on the hunt for something or in the thick of it, in the trenches, battling something out, like that feels really good. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
made to do that in a certain extent, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like hard projects, right? I like project-based work because it feels really good to get it done. I've only ever done project-based work in my life. I've never really had a real job until you and I started this podcast,
Yeah.
which is super profitable.
Yeah, man.
And I know you're
Passive income.
enjoying the
Hashtag
spoils.
passive income. Yeah.
Uh, so, but where I'm kind of going with this is if you say number two, so I want meaningful memories with my wife and
Mm-hmm.
kids.
Which
Number
good.
two,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I want to feel like I. Number two is I want to feel like every single gift that I've been given from God, like I know myself. I know what those gifts are. We all have different
Mm-hmm.
leanings, gifts, talents. We're unique.
Yeah.
And if you understand how you're built and what you can contribute and you lean into those gifts and skills, you that's when you start to 10x, right? That's why I think
Amazing.
the number one job, I mean, and I'm just being honest with you, because I would do commercial real estate if I was, you asked me in 10 episodes ago, what would you do if you had $25 million?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even, you just texted me that actually. It wasn't even on this podcast. Regardless, I would still be a part of real estate. Like I would still do what I'm doing with the people I'm doing with because it's meaningful. But I would probably publish a lot more stuff. Like I would probably lean into sort of the gifts I have in the content world because that gives me a ton of life. And it's cheat
Yeah.
code out there. Like if you can do sort of what you love, like if you get hobby feelings out of your job,
Yeah.
that's a true blessing. And I can't say that what I'm doing is every single part of it is like me to a T. That's okay. I don't expect it to be. There's enough that thrills me, right?
Yeah.
But you can't waste those gifts. Like you have to figure out those gifts. You have to apply them, or later in life you will regret it.
Dude. So this is where I would say maybe Justin is just more mature than I am. Honestly, I
Oh
think
my
I'm always
gosh.
trying to
It's
say,
the first
dude,
time this has ever happened.
this is, yeah, yeah. It could be. It could be. I think so, dude. I'm wondering if it's because I don't know why. Maybe because you didn't. This is your second career in a way, or
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I hear from you. I know what I'm good at. I know what lights me up, and I'm very comfortable with that, and I want to just do that. Where I think my big mistake is I just, my back against the wall when I was young and newly married. I just had to make money, and I wasn't good at anything other than I could just pick up a phone and try and generate money. Right. So it's like I was always focused on the end, and you're more like, no, this is what I'm good. I want to spend my time doing what I'm gifted at. That's
Well,
amazing.
that's after. I mean, I'm not saying that in year one. Like in year one, I'm trying to make money.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about reverse engineering your life and thinking
Yeah.
through, that it's like, okay, if you don't use those, we don't have a choice. Like if you don't use the person that you are, if you don't understand yourself and apply those gifts, you're miserable. You will eventually will be
Correct.
miserable. So,
True.
but you found other ways to do it. Like for example, you're a great writer, right? Like we have this, if you don't subscribe, if you're listening to this show and you don't subscribe to our newsletter, Sean does a bunch of writing on it. And so I get kind of a bird's eye view on like, wow, you can put together words. Like you could write books or do whatever,
Yeah.
right? So you found a way. Now this way it's happened to been downstream from sort of your deal life, which is cool, I think. So they've
It's a great example because I enjoy writing. I like get pleasure out of writing. Right. So that's something I've just learned recently about myself, honestly, in the last couple of years. But yeah, it's a great point. And so then the quest for me, I think to your point, is like, how do I spend more time applying that thing that I like to do, and maybe I'll say I have some gifting in, and how do I then spend my work week doing more of that? I think to your point, I think that's meaningful, and yeah, that's reverse engineering. I think you're right. I think it's spending your days doing things that you're good at and that you enjoy doing. Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's a
that
big deal.
that have meaning, that have like that mean something for people. I mean, there's nothing. I definitely want to affect people. Like I definitely want to encourage people. I want people when they experience me and what I'm doing, they're like, I left built up, positive.
Yeah, dude, this is why you're one of the least mature people I know. Um, just kidding. I take it all back. You said a month ago or a few weeks ago, I'm not very generous. That's just not true. That's the heart of generosity. You want to affect people.
No, I'm
Why?
just being
Because you're so
honest.
selfish. You're so selfish. You want to just benefit other people. No, that's the heart of generosity right there, man. You want to affect other people, unless you're just mean for your own financial gain. If that's what you're talking about, then damn you, you selfish bastard.
Now, this episode is sponsored by our new Sales Life course
That was Dr.
for
Scholl's.
4 easy payments of $399.99. You can
Yeah.
have your own midlife crisis and emerge from it on the other side, like Sean, a better and stronger person with a
Yes.
pool.
Yeah. Let's go. This course will guide you through that process. Yeah. Yeah. For an extra fee, we can help initiate the midlife crisis. There you go.
Okay,
Dude,
so I've named two things. Give me something you want.
so this I again, with the spirit of writing being cathartic and enjoyable for me, I wrote this week something like an observation of how I've come full circle. I thought passive income was going to get me. It's like my brain didn't connect it early enough. Like passive income was the gateway to security and freedom and peace and joy. That's the calculation that my brain came up with. And I believe that that's the basic formula that the world provides. And I don't even think there's anything wrong with it. It's like, so this post I wrote is how we all grow up as kids. When you watch little kids interacting with their parents or other kids, they're present and they're joyful and they're free and they're fully alive. Right. And then we get a little older and we just build ourselves we build an ego for ourselves. Right. We start having a view of ourselves. We become self-conscious, and we view ourselves in comparison to other people. And I'm watching it real time as my kids, it's like when the hormones kick in, like the egos get built, and you leave this world of magic and wonder and awe of being a little kid, and you enter this world of having a conception of yourself and like an idea of yourself. And man, I just think, and then the trap is then we go and chase these things. We chase beauty and money and success and career and status. That's a lot of what social media is. It's kind of nauseating to me. Status, fame. Social media is like very small time fame. Everybody, fame, money, power, all that.
100%.
All that stuff, right? So you chase that because you think it's going to give you something. And you realize when you hit your midlife crisis, and we talk about this in part 2 of our course, when you hit your midlife crisis, you realize that all of that stuff that you're chasing, it doesn't give you the things that you thought it would. Like it did. My passive income journey did not end in freedom and peace of mind. It gave me the opposite. Now, I'm not condemning it. I'm not saying any of it is bad. It's what it took for me to see that I didn't want it for what it was. God didn't put me on this earth to be a great multifamily operator. It's not me. I was chasing it because I thought it would give me security and freedom and peace. And it gave me the opposite. And then so like the full circle moment is like, okay, if I'm really going to reverse engineer what I want, I didn't even want investment properties. I only want what I thought it would give me. So if I want security and peace and freedom, I got to go and get after that stuff. Like I got to go get that.
I love what you said. And my first thought during the beginning when you were talking about, during the beginning of your rant there, which I really liked, I kept thinking active listening.
Like,
right?
I was putting you to sleep, so it was like, hey, Justin,
no.
active listener.
No. You weren't putting me to sleep. I'm wide awake. Part of anybody who's listening to this, if you take away one thing from this episode, like if you listen to Sales Life because you're thinking about something practical and you want to get better at sales like today, which we're talking about reverse engineering your life, right? So first start there. Write down with the end in mind, what do you want to get to? How much money might you need to get there or whatever? Here's the other psychological thing. Part of what makes this podcast good is every single time we do this, I practice active listening. Okay. The only time you and I have had an episode that we both said, this is just freaking terrible, was I literally had my notebook sitting next to me and I had 3 things written down that I wanted to share. And I was just waiting to, instead of responding to you and listening to you, I was waiting to share my own agenda. Right.
Yeah.
This literally is the secret to being good at sales. You have to actually listen to what people are saying. Empty your mind of what you want, what you can get, how you can benefit, your agenda, where you might take them, how you see, your own perspective. Now, in a professional setting, you're likely going to get a chance to share your perspective, maybe provide professional guidance. However, early on, listen. If you find yourself throughout your day where your subconscious says, wow, self, you're not thinking about anything else. You're actually listening to this person. That is going to make you into the best salesperson that
and to do that, you have to know your stuff to where you're not rehearsing it while you're sitting with your prospect, right? You just have to know it cold. You got to know your data, your stats, your market. You just have to know it. It's interesting because reverse engineering. And maybe this topic, and maybe talking about reverse engineering the way I've experienced it, reverse engineering the life you want, maybe that's not resonating for some people. And I'm going to say that's probably not going to resonate for anybody under the age of like 35 or 40. Let's just put it out there. Same concept, okay? Rewind. Let's say you're at the beginning of your sales career. It's the same concept. You need to reverse engineer what you want. This is how I built my career early on. You reverse engineer what you want. And for me, it was like, okay, I want to earn this much money this year. And then it's the same thing. You say, okay, well, how many deals would it take? What size are those deals? And to get those deals, how many BOVs do I have to do? How many meetings do I have to set? It all, you keep reverse engineering it until you're at the very beginning of the inputs. And the first inputs are your calls. How many calls will it take to earn that amount of money? Do the analysis. I kept for years track of every cold call I made and every deal I closed, and I had a whole spreadsheet that calculated every the value of every time I picked up the phone, how much money that put in my pocket, based on years of experience, and
That's amazing.
every time I connected with a decision maker, how much. And I'm making up the numbers now, but it was about something like every time I pick up the phone to make a cold call, it puts $30 in my pocket.
Right. Yeah.
Every time
Something
I
like
set a
that.
meeting with somebody, it puts $2,500 in my pocket. And every time I get hired, it puts, 15 grand in my pocket, whatever.
Right.
But know that you want to take some of the fear of the unknown of this business out of it. Just do the math. Pretty simple.
It works. Okay, so I'm in year 7. This is the first year I'm keeping stats. Because guess what? If you go back to year 2, I wake up in the morning and my goal was make as much money as possible, close as many deals as possible today,
Yeah.
start a bunch of stuff, get
Yeah.
action. Like I would put myself up against almost anyone at, hey, there's nothing going on. Let's start picking up the phone and creating action. Oh, and this is happening. Oh, did you know this is happening? Whatever. Like I can do that. I can create momentum.
Mm-hmm.
It after a while, that just raw energy for it wears down. Like
Yeah.
you need the flywheel. You need to do what you're saying. You need to measure. And so that's been really good for me too. I know you and I've had this conversation before, but if you're emotionally driven, you like to be the hero, right? Like you like to be, you talk about a savior complex or whatever with deals. Like you like to come in and like be the guy who makes it happen or whatever. This business does not reward the hero. It rewards the boring, consistent person who says every day I'm going to make this amount of calls. I'm not leaving until it's done. That's going to turn into this amount of meetings a week. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. You can reverse engineer all of it. I think it's, we're really just talking about, I think it's Stephen Covey. I'm so bad with authors and stuff, but the 7 habits of highly successful people. It's like that habit. You
that's
begin with the
R.L.
end in mind.
Stein, I think.
I don't know.
Is that Goosebumps you're quoting
Could be
from?
ZZ Top for all I know. I don't know. It's the 7 habits. You begin with the end in mind. It's important in business. It's important in life. And I don't want to sound like, I don't think you can get to. There's an author that I do know his name, Richard Rohr, and he wrote a book called Falling Upward. And this book is about the journey of the 2 halves of life. And it's a very classical journey where you have to create structure and you have to strive and you have to build something and you have to like work half of your life towards that. And then at some point you have to just let all that go. And that's the new journey, letting all that go. So all that to say, if you're like, dude, you're talking crap about building passive income, that's all I'm trying to do right now. You're exactly where you should be. If you're in the part of your life where you're fired up about that, that is your assignment. You need to do that. You have to do that. If you're fired up about building a business, a career, a brokerage business, whatever, you got to do it. You got to put everything into it.
Yeah.
And you may never go through this season of life where the universe or God or whatever kind of messes it all up for you and forces you to let go of it, you might, but you might not. So that's just my journey. But I think you will. I think if you do the first part of life really well, like you get to the second part of life where God says, okay, now give it all back. And
Can
if
I
you don't,
share
I'll take it.
this? Can I share this thought to Inks? I'm curious on your thoughts on this. So Strip Mall Guy, the the account on Twitter and
Yeah,
LinkedIn and
yeah,
stuff, Don
yeah,
Tetman or whatever.
yeah.
He had this post today about meeting with basically someone who had done exactly what he's doing right now. So they had a very successful career in private equity,
Hmm.
raising private equity for real estate purchases and improving properties, selling, running funds, whatever. So, and he doesn't do it anymore. He's essentially retired. And so Strip Mall Guy was like, I met with this dude and I basically told him, wow, you have everything I want. And that dude said to Strip Mall Guy, yeah, but I really miss the game.
Mm,
Like that's the thing I miss the most is the game, the hunt, the finding, the
yeah.
success. And I actually had this thought that I think it will be different for guys like Don, who is Strip Mall Guy, and maybe you or maybe others, because a lot of where you want to go at the end of life is influence. And none of the generation previous to us had an opportunity. You could basically do one thing. You could write a book or you could like tour around and do speeches, right? But like
Who? Oh,
people,
previously. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, people in general, like if you wanted to end your life with influence,
Hmm.
those were your options.
Hmm.
Now, you like Strip Mall Guy, if he continues on this successful journey and comes to a point where he wants to retire and goes, okay, I've got 500,000 followers.
Hmm.
Like, what can I do? I can write a book. I can sell it. I can post.
Hmm.
I have distribution. Like I have an audience that's followed me through the journey that I can then interact with and work with. So I think it's going to be very different for people in the future who come to
Hmm.
the end of their careers and they're thinking like, yeah, that's what everybody does. You write a book, right?
Mm,
You look back on your reflection, you reflect on your life and success and you
yeah.
teach lessons or whatever. You're doing that already. Like you're doing that every day.
Yeah, it's weird. I do it. I don't want to be an influencer or we've talked about this. That's not why that's not why I'm doing it. Um, for me, I'm still trying to. Well, I'm trying to close out a chapter in a season of my life. Honestly, for me,
Yeah.
that's I got to get my house done. I got to get. I
Yeah.
started on this track 5, 6, 7 years ago, and it's all fallen apart for me. And now I got to put it back together and see what life has after that. But um, yeah, man, I don't know, dude. I think you got to go into whatever you're doing with full intention and do it smart. Think from the end and how you want to get there and go after it. And don't be surprised if at some point you reach the finish line and realize, shoot, I didn't want that after all.
100%.
Could could be. But you got to see it through.
Yeah, if anything else this wow, that was so bad. If anything else this episode is an opportunity to step back and ask yourself, am I playing the right game? Like,
Totally.
yeah, sure, I might win. We're not in the last inning yet. I'm doing pretty well, but a person who's true to themselves also goes, yeah, but is it the right game in general
Hmm.
that I'm playing? So
Just yeah, that's it, man. Yeah. Be
that's it.
be self-reflective. Don't just get sucked down in the stream of, we're just going with the flow. This is what everybody does. Just live the life you want. Whether that's building something huge or letting go of all of it and just spending time with it, whatever it is. Just do it intentionally.